They expected your apology, but this time you gave them permanent silence. That is the part they never prepared for. They were so used to you coming back with explanations. They were used to you trying to fix what they broke. They were used to you sending long messages, asking what went wrong, trying to understand why they became cold, why they changed their tone, why they acted like you were the problem after they hurt you. They thought this time would be the same. They thought they could disrespect you, pull away, acted innocent, and wait for you to feel guilty. They thought you would sit with the discomfort until you could not take it anymore. They thought you would apologize just to end the tension, even when you were not the one who caused it. That was the pattern they trusted. They would say something cruel, then act quiet. They would ignore your pain, then accuse you of being dramatic. They would cross a boundary, then make you feel bad for having one. They would start the conflict and sit back and wait for you to clean up the emotional mess. And for a long time, you did that for them. Not because you were weak, but because you cared. You valued peace. You did not like leaving things unresolved. You believed that if you explained yourself clearly enough, they would finally understand they will finally understand your heart. You believed that if you stayed calm, patient, and loving, they would eventually treat you with the same care. But they did not. They used your softness against you. Every time you apologized for something you did not do, they learned they could avoid responsibility. Every time you begged for communication, they learned silence could control you. Every time you accepted a weak apology with no change behavior, they learned your forgiveness had no real limit. They started depending on your emotional labor. They started depending on your emotional level. You became the person who reached out first. You became the person who tried to repair the distance. You became the person who swallowed your feelings so the relationship should continue. You became the person who kept explaining, forgiving, waiting, and hoping, and it drained you. It made you question yourself. It made you wonder if you were too sensitive. It made you reply conversations in your mind, searching for the moment you supposedly did not did searching for the moment you supposedly did something wrong. It made you feel guilty for reacting to reacting to disrespect. It made you feel like it made you feel like love meant carrying the weight of two people. That kind of manipulation does not always look loud. Sometimes it looks like someone refusing to answer your messages until you panic. Sometimes it looks like someone giving you cold replies until you start apologizing. Sometimes it looks like someone saying, you always make everything a problem. When all you did was ask for basic respect, they trained you to fear distance. They knew that silence bothered you. They knew that unresolved conflict made you anxious. They knew that you would rather apologize than sit in emotional punishment. So they used that against you again and again. But something changed inside you. You started noticing the cycle. You started seeing you started seeing that every argument ended with you apologizing. Even when they were wrong, you started realizing that that they never came to you with real accountability. They only came back when they felt you slipping away. You started asking yourself a painful question. Why am I always the one trying to make peace with someone who kept disturbing mine? That question changed everything. You stopped reaching to explain. You stopped accepting blame. You stopped accepting blames just to calm them down. You stopped writing paragraphs to someone who only wanted control. Not understanding, you stopped giving them emotional access every time they created chaos. And when they wanted you, and when they waited for your apology, nothing came. No message, no call, no long explanation, no emotional reaction, just silence. But the silence was different. It was not the kind of silence they used to punish you. It was not childish. It was not manipulative. It was not meant to make them chase. Your silence was not a game. It was a decision. It was the moment you chose not to return to the same cycle. That is why it feels permanent, because this time you are not staying quiet so they can miss you. You are staying quiet because you finally understand that some conversations only pull you back into confusion. You are staying quiet because you have said enough. You are staying quiet because they already know what they did. They expected you to apologize because they did not, because they still saw you as the old version of yourself, the version who felt guilty for protecting your peace, the version who thought love meant fixing everything, the version who would rather be hurt than be misunderstood, the version who gave people access even after they mishandled your heart. But that version, that version of you is gone. Not the not But that version of you is gone. Now they are facing the consequences of understanding of underestimating your growth. They thought you would break first. They thought your silence would last a few hours, maybe a few days. They thought you would come back with a message saying, I am sorry if I overreacted. They thought your needs for closure would be stronger than your self-respect. But this time, your self-respect stayed. And now they do not know what to do with it. Their old methods are not working. The silence treatment is not pulling you back. The guilt trips are not shaking you. The cold behavior is not making you choose. It's not making you chase. The fake innocence is not the fake innocence is not confusing you anymore. Even their small attempts to get your attention are not reaching the parts of you they used to control. That is when regret begins. Now, the honest kind, and are not always the honest kind, not always the kind where they come forward and admit everything. Sometimes regret looks like them checking your page quietly. Something it looked like them. Sometimes it looks like them asking people about you. Sometimes it looks like them acting bothered in public but feeling exposed in private, because deep down they know why you went silent. They know they know they pushed you too far. They know they ignored too many chances. They know they turned your patience into a habit. They know They made you feel alone while expecting you to keep showing up with love. Now, the fallout is real. They are no longer having your attention. They are no longer having your emotional support. They are no longer having your quick forgiveness. They are no longer having the comfort of knowing you would always be there to make things right. And people are starting to see it. People are starting to see it too. They can no longer paint you as the dramatic one when you are not reacting. They can no longer use your pain as evidence against you when you are calm. They can no longer twist your words when you are not giving them anything, when you are not giving them any. Your silence is exposing the role they played because without your reaction, their behavior stands alone. That is what makes them uncomfortable. Your silence is empty. Your silence is not empty. It is full of everything you finally understood. It says you remember the disrespect. It says you remember the gaslighting. It says you remember the silence treatment. It says you remember how many times you apologized just to keep peace with someone who was never peaceful with you. But it also says you are done carrying guilt that does not belong to you. You are not chasing an apology anymore. You are not waiting for them to finally understand you. You are not begging them to see your value. You are not trying to prove that you loved them and you loved them enough. You already know what you gave, and now you know what it cost you. That is why your silence became permanent, not because you hate them, but because you finally stopped betraying yourself to keep access to someone who kept hurting you. They expected your apology because they believed your love made you easy to control. But but what they received was silence was silence so complete that it forced them to face the truth. They did not lose you because of one argument. They lost you because they kept expecting you to apologize for the pain they caused. And this time, instead of saying sorry, you chose peace. They expected your apology, but your permanent silence became the final answer they could never control. Thank you for watching. If you're new to this channel, kindly subscribe, like, hit the notification bell. And to my returning subscribers, you already know my heart. I love you so much. See you.